Question for you. How have you seen Chance Sisco and Pedro Severino sort of evolve at the plate during the season?
I'm sorry, did you say at the plate?
Yeah, batting, yes.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Huge improvement on all levels for both of those guys. You can see the confidence growing, and you can see them manage the at-bats. You can see the aggressive approach, and they're working counts. I mean, you can see they're feeding off each other. You're just seeing growth as major league players now at different stages in their career.
Next up is Steve Molesky.
Hey, Tim, Brandon has told us a couple times about the heavy load a catcher requires in processing the scouting report, the data, our pitcher's strengths, that batter's weakness, and putting it all together on the field. Can you talk a little bit about how that process is working for you guys this year?
The process has evolved quite a bit, to be honest, since last year. We've built some internal things that are really helping. There's some new process in place, and they're taking to it, and it's really economized everything for these players. So they're doing a great job of absorbing the information and commanding the game, as well as manage their pitching staff and, like we just said, their at-bats. Things are coming into focus for both those guys. They're in a great spot, and it's fun to watch, and it's fun to be on the bench and listen to the dialogue as we go through these games and watch them grow in those areas.
Next, we have Rich Dubroff.
Hey, Tim, with Sisco, you know, his offense has sometimes gotten in the way of his defense. You know, he's thinking so much about his offense. Do you find that he's been able to separate the two better this year?
Yes, I feel like Chance does a fairly good job of separating the two. There is more in there offensively in terms of his ability to get frustrated and take at bats. He's more frustrated offensively at times than he is defensively. I think defensively he's got a different meter where he kind of stays in the pocket. He does a really nice job of not letting the offense take away from his defense. So that's always the tipping point for most guys, is how they control those two things, because those can get tricky in the course of a game. And if you fall off the wagon offensively and take it to your defense, it's catastrophic to the club. So he's doing a nice job of that. I'm not saying it's perfect all the time. Nobody ever is. It's a very difficult, demanding position on both fronts. But in terms of his focus and running games, I don't think he's ever taken it behind the plate.
John Mioli, go ahead.
How's it going, Tim? And Jack, I'll have another after this, but I don't want to ask a two-parter. You've had one of the best seats to this era of Orioles baseball of anybody, standing right next to Brandon in the clubhouse or in the dugout. From last year to this year, what's the biggest change that you've seen from this team that's contributed to the results being better?
John, I didn't hear the first part. I'm sorry. What was the first part?
I mean, I was just kind of saying you have one of the best seats in the house in terms of watching the Orioles play. What's the biggest difference between last year and this year that's made this year more successful for you guys?
I think it's a combination of guys coming in and performing and having some success. I don't feel a major difference in the vibe. I think the vibe is similar, and I think the vibe has stayed consistent, and I think guys are performing and just taking the next step in their development as major league players and having some success. And I think those things added, I think we're seeing the benefit of that. I think it's just, without kind of ducking the question, I think it's just a next step for a lot of everybody involved.
John, did you have a second question you'd like to go with?
Yeah, and I guess similarly along that line, you know, Brandon, as a second-year manager, have you seen growth or development or changes from last year to this year with him?
Honestly, not. I've seen a lot of growth in terms of his ability to handle all the things that were coming at him for the first time last year. I've seen a lot, you know, different abilities to manage those things. In terms of him managing a game, I've seen him manage games for a long time, albeit at the minor league level, and I've watched him throughout his, you know, career in the major league. So it doesn't surprise me. What is unique to see and fun to see is his ability to have some performance that shows up maybe a little more consistently than he did last year, So we can now see some of the moves paying off a little bit. And so I have seen some more comfort and more natural moves, and things are kind of starting to line up a little bit. So I have, yeah. The answer is yes. It's a long-winded way of saying yes, I have.
Next up is Paul Mancano.
Hey, Tim, kind of following up on that. Is that the differences you've seen in Brandon's approach? Do you think that's partly just because he, has a better sense of the team and the guys in the team in year two? Or do you think it's just he's more comfortable as the second-year manager here?
I would say it's a little bit of both, a combination of both. I think going through it the second time and having the prep time of the offseason to reflect back on what was last year, sort of a whirlwind, I think, for everybody involved. He's never going to be unprepared. He's very reflective. He's going to always look back and look for things that we can all do better. And he did that all offseason. And I think we were in a good spot coming in spring training. I think it was really starting to show up before we took off. In spring training, I think we were in a good spot there. And then I think our ability to pick up kind of where we left off in spring training was as a testament to what he's, what and how he's doing things right now. So, yeah.
Steve Molesky.
So, Tim, what is your thought on the importance of pitch framing in the game today? And how do you get better at it? How are you guys doing with it?
Now we're talking, Steve. Good question. I actually, that's a big hot topic right now, and there's a lot that goes into that, and I feel kind of two ways about it. I coming from a player development background, there's a time to put in like solid foundational things that you can then jump off of when you get to a higher level, in this case the major leagues, and it does become about the value of a strike and what we can do as receivers to manipulate the aesthetic of the strike zone. It's vastly important right now, and you guys watch the games, you see it all the time, and you see kind of the difference in maybe a fundamental thing happening with as much as the ball's moving and all those things. So it's very important. We are, daily working on those things. And I think we're in a good spot with that organizationally. We're doing all we can to find and exploit things that we can do better. So we definitely, it's the foundation of our catching program at this point, because it's standing up in games every single day for sure.
If I could follow quickly, does that, some of the things you're doing with the catchers in Baltimore, the game planning, the framing, is all that translating to Bowie, an important guy like Adley and the other catchers you have there? Or is it hard to, because they're not playing major league games, obviously, every night at Bowie?
No, it's definitely translating. There's a clear line of communication with the staff in Bowie. They're doing an outstanding job. We're communicating quite a bit. We have really, you're talking about Adley in particular, there's an unbelievable structure for Adley to improve with the veterans that we have there. Winnie and Taylor Davis in particular, as well as the coaching staff that's working with those guys. I think it's a perfect storm of having the right people at the right place at the right time, and it's a very productive environment, and Adley is improving rapidly.